Hello and welcome. I'm Vanshri Bhalotia, an astrophysics PhD student at the University of Hawaii. Today, I will help you increase your self-efficacy as a science communicator by using wonder as a boomerang. I'm an early career science communicator myself. I started my science communication journey in college while facilitating hands-on activities for the public. I continued this journey coordinating the logistics of larger scale outreach events in my master's. And now, as a PhD student, I create my own interdisciplinary outreach efforts in addition to coordinating and facilitating other efforts. So I have a very first-hand experience of the issues that science communicators face. Most notably, I feel the need to pave a path and find a niche is a pressing issue that we face, especially for people who are coming into the field without years of apprenticeship. Our field is quite diverse, which makes it hard to know where to start, because jobs range from being a science journalist to working at a telescope doing outreach. The diversity of jobs in our field also makes it hard to have a centralized support structure, which creates a vacuum for things like self-doubt and burnout to creep in. It makes it also harder to build peer community and find mentorship, especially if one is on a unique path, such as becoming the next Carl Sagan. It's also difficult to collaborate beyond the local boundaries, such as the geography or platforms, since most institutions are tailored to focus on their local community. Given these issues, I hope that we can find some tools to cope with them. I hope this talk can serve as giving you some tools to cope with them. And I also hope that you can use this time to find some mentorship and build some peer community. One of the tools that I personally use to cope with this is building my own self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to succeed in a specific task. I'll give you the example of Bijli. Bijli is a stick figure. Her name means lightning. Bijli is preparing her slides and her script to give a fancy public talk. And during this preparation, she doubts herself. She notices her low self-efficacy and starts writing a reflection to explore why. On realizing that her low self-efficacy is only in one portion, such as just the preparation of the talk and not the delivery or the networking after, she notices that her self-esteem is broader than just the self-efficacy. And she decides not to let the low self-efficacy become something that she internalizes. She reframes her conversation and doesn't let her low self-efficacy dictate her current performance. Self-efficacy may seem like a small tool, but it's very powerful, and it can be used to overcome external things as well, such as imposter syndrome and stereotype threat, which are caused by external viewpoints. Some of the tricks you can use to increase your self-efficacy involve giving yourself the opportunity to master something. Mastering a problem or a specific task can help you have a higher self-efficacy in that task, as well as watching people like you succeed in certain tasks. Having a positive physiological or emotional state can make you experience higher self-efficacy, as well as having a supportive community who gives you positive messages and encouragement can be important. Increasing your self-efficacy is something that can only be useful if it makes growing less hard. Growing is quite a difficult process already, and especially given the issues that science communicators face, I want to provide tools that make growing less hard. Let's explore how Bijli grows. Bijli starts off as a novice and she wants to grow into something bigger. Some of the thoughts she has is the following. She believes that experiencing low self-efficacy is a part of growth, which means that she's okay with having these hurdles and failures in between her growth. It's not something that she holds against herself, and she realizes this is part of her journey. She also breaks a daunting task into smaller pieces. For example, when she's preparing for the talk, she breaks that up into smaller pieces of deciding what pictures to put on the slides or deciding what type of logic the slides should follow. And as she breaks this into smaller tasks, she's able to go more easily from one rung of that ladder to the next, and also able to reward herself for climbing each rung of that ladder. She asks for help and feedback and takes it when things get difficult. She's not afraid to ask for feedback and get constructive criticism, and she's not afraid to improve from it. She also goes out of her comfort zone because she knows that's where growth can happen, and she aims higher than what she might be able to imagine. Finally, she self-reflects and practices different coping strategies for the situations she's in. She also encourages positive self-talk and self-compassion. These are the things that end up making Bijli go from a novice to an expert. Something in common with all these thoughts is the fact that they are focused on the process of growing. They're not focused on a specific outcome, but rather focused on how Bijli can help herself improve each day consistently. This type of mindset that Bijli has right now is called a growth mindset. My talk is asynchronous, so I've structured it in a way that can also help you inculcate self-efficacy and growth mindset into your work. You can pause this slide and you can think of these prompts and think about things that come up and how you can address them better. Now I'll move on to the next part of my talk, which is about wonder. When I started science communication, I always had this very Hollywood idea of science communication where you were on a stage and you had a mic and you were fancy and dressed up and you were talking to an audience about a very complicated topic in a very engaging way. And so it was the job of the science communicator to give wonder to an audience, and the audience would take the wonder. So I felt the science communicator must always be able to transfer wonder directly and must always have that type of capacity. This changed for me when I had a realization when I was creating my own content. I started realizing that, yes, I did want to provide the audience with a sense of wonder, but I also wanted to provide myself with a sense of wonder. The reason I was doing science communication was because I wanted to be able to behold wonder as well. And so I wanted wonder to be like a two-way street. And I realized that the audience would stay for this kind of exploration. And so I started thinking about sustainable wonder. How do I create wonder sustainably? And I realized that wonder could be thought of as a boomerang. It could be something that I pass on to the audience, but the audience passes it back to me. It could be infinitely looping through me and the audience, or me and my collaborators. More specifically, I discovered this through my niche, which was interdisciplinary explorations of communicating astronomy. I have combined art and astronomy in various ways, like embodied learning and working with artists on art pieces. And also I have had dialogue with artists on my radio show. More details on my interdisciplinary explorations can be found on my poster. But these interdisciplinary explorations encouraged me to realize that wonder was something that everyone held. Wonder was something that was not just mine, or my role was not just to give wonder, but my role was to be open to wonder all around me. And when I realized this, I felt a big sustainable change in my method of communicating science. And I hope you can too. The next two slides can also be paused and you can reflect on them. The first one is on how to make an idea a reality. And the second one is how to create wonder sustainably for your project. I hope these prompts helped you. And as you're going through these prompts, I just want to leave this small reminder of our generation. Please be patient with yourself and please be self-compassionate. Thank you so much for coming to my talk. I would love to build community with you, and I would love to answer any questions you may have. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn or Twitter. I have provided some resources here. Thank you so much for coming to my talk, and I look forward to seeing you at my poster.